board since 2014, being elected as the Secretary Treasurer position in 2020. He's the immediate past president of the Florida Education Association, leading 140,000 educators through, beyond, and above the relentless attacks on educators, education, and students that we are seeing play out in the news every day. As a music teacher, maybe even a recovering teacher, although I think we all know once a teacher, always a teacher, right? Fed knows to his core the ramifications of the assaults we're seeing, and he's been out front in the fight back, as well as in the fight forward. I've had the chance of being in the room with numerous times when Fed is speaking and fired up. I always feel inspired, connected, and smarter by the time he finishes. I'm so glad that you're with us this evening. I only regret that I didn't invite you to bring your saxophone, although I do see one on the stage over there, so musicians, watch out. Now, some of you know April Sims, who you've at least had the privilege of hearing her speak. She was our 2019 convention keynote speaker. And I got to know April when she joined the staff of the Washington State Labor Council in 2015. It didn't take long for the labor community to recognize that she had a wealth of talent, skill, passion, and wisdom to share with our movement. She's a groundbreaker, being the first person of color to be elected to a Washington State Labor Council executive office, and then she broke additional barriers when she was elected president this year, the first woman, and the first black woman to hold that position, and the first black woman in the country to hold the presidency of an AFL-CIO state federation. There's a lot on April's shoulders, and I have no doubt that she's up to the challenge, but I'm going to make note of the responsibility we all share in supporting leaders like April who step up despite the added challenge being the first brings. April and I share some commonalities. We both grew up in Tacoma, and for both of us, the union played a huge role in our family's economy. Both of our moms were single with kids, and both of them were members of WFSE, the Washington Federation of State Employees. I learn something from April every time we meet, and I value the relationship we have in this work. Please, let's welcome our guests one more time, with your hands or snaps, no emojis, and a good old-fashioned hand. Okay, so I'm going to get us started. I guess I'm going to move over there. I'm not going to interview you. We're having a conversation. This is different for us, we haven't done this before, so it'll be interesting. And I just want to give each one of you a chance to just introduce yourself, say a little bit about yourself, and really whatever is on your mind before we delve into our theme for the evening.
I was going to defer based on seniority.
No.
That's what I meant, like you were. This is awful.
And I'm
I don't know that that's true, but we do have more seniority. Well, I'm happy to introduce myself. Thanks, Karen. Good evening, everyone. Like Karen mentioned, my name is April Sims. My pronouns are she and her. I have the privilege of serving as the president of the Washington State Labor Council, AFL-CIO, which is the umbrella labor organization in Washington State, representing more than 600 locals and over 630,000 unionized workers in every industry, every sector, and every corner of this beautiful state. My humble brag is that we proudly boast having the third highest union density in the nation. We're just behind New York and Hawaii, and we've already put them on notice that AFT is organizing, so we're coming for that number 2 spot. But at nearly twice the national average, it means 1 in 5 workers in Washington State is represented by a union. So we got a lot going on in this small corner of the state. I usually say, when I have the opportunity to introduce myself, that the 2 things I most want folks to know about me is that I am the ranking Scrabble champ in my family. This is a true thing. A title I proudly defended since 2015. Like my mom and a Q on a triple word score. I still am obnoxiously bragging about it. And the second is that the union changed my life. And I'm not being dramatic when I say that. It was my mom's union job as a psychiatrical security attendant out 25th of every month was transformative. It gave her real dignity and assurance and confidence. It meant that she could plan her future. And the union changed our lives. I often say that I'm only here because the shop steward in my workplace invited me to a local meeting. That they saw leadership in me long before I saw it in myself. But the other part of my story, which is really essential to who I am and why I do this work, is that I was a teenage mom and a high school dropout. And it took me a couple of years to figure things out, go back to school. And I'm grateful to Bates Technical College and their Ready Start program that got me back on track. But it took me a couple of years to get over the shame and the stigma of being a high school dropout. And so I'm really here because my union invested in me, because my union believed in me and created a space for my leadership. And that is the unparalleled power and potential of our labor movement. We talk a lot about the difference that we make in terms of wages, benefits, and working conditions. That was my lived experience. But we don't talk often enough about the power that the union has to elevate the whole worker. And that's the work I'm going to work on as a leader in the Washington State labor movement. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
See, I should have gone first for the whole time. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Oh, come on now, I'm a K-12 teacher. Good evening, everybody. They got higher ed, and they don't necessarily have to talk fast sometimes, right? But listen, so let me be totally transparent, okay? I am from Miami. The Miami Heat are playing right now, okay? Let me be totally transparent. So if anybody who just wants to yell and scream and say, hey, the Heat won, I would totally appreciate it. Karen probably would not, but we're going to move this thing along as quickly as we can possibly get it, all right? So anyway, I'm also from the East Coast, and it's 10:30 where I live, so it's past my bedtime, so I'm struggling here with the wine. I've never had wine at a convention before. I'm loving it here, watching. Awesome. Listen, everybody, I'm Patrick England. I am from the great state of Florida. Do not mind our governor. We have lots of good people who live in Florida, and we happen to have, well, I don't know how colorful I can be here, but we happen to have a governor who is not representing the values of working people. And so I'll leave that there. But I'm from Miami, and I heard a couple of your awardees say, for every reason in the world I'm not supposed to be here. My goodness. My parents were 2 city bus drivers, never went to college. My dad was a high school dropout and went back and got a GED. My parents married each other at 18 and 19 years old. They've been married for 47 years. Wow. So you gotta be by 1 year. And I grew up in the housing projects in the mean streets of Miami. Played basketball. These days I have to convince people I didn't play football because, I've got to pass my point guard days. But I'm also a musician. I'm a musician because my mom took us to church every single Sunday, kicking and screaming. And I mention that because those were my first teachers. My first teacher were my parents. They taught me right from wrong. They taught me moral. They taught me character education. They taught me yes, sir, and no, ma'am, we're okay in this country. They taught me to be respectful to other people. They taught me to get along with your brothers and don't fight all the time, because that was our first union, right? I had 3 brothers, and in my house we had to unionize and make sure that we could eat. And so, we had seniority battle in my house because we didn't have a lot all the time. My parents struggled, but they had 2 union jobs. TWU 291, Transit Workers United, got us through. And they taught us the values of work, just like Martin Luther King did, and said, if your lot happens to be a street sweeper, then sweep streets, like Michelangelo painted pictures. That's what we do, and we are teaching the world that unions matter, that work matters, that values matter, and that solidarity, and having a voice, that we can do much more together than we can do alone. That is what we're doing every day, and that's who the AFT is. And so I'm the proud Secretary-Treasurer of the American Federation of Teachers. Our president is Randy Weingarten, and we represent people all over this country and internationally who give of themselves in public health in public schools, in our colleges and universities, in our public services, and our school-related personnel. That's who we are, and that's what we're about. And we espouse those values every day, and we will fight to the end, because we know that the future of our democracy is in our classrooms. The future of our democracy is in our classrooms. And we know that we are going to be on the right side of history. And if not us, then who? Who would you rather have? 80% of the people are glad it's you. 20% don't care. But we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And so that's what I tell people all the time, and that's what I believe. And your awardee said it best, Karen. It's the diversity that is our strength. It is the diversity that is our strength. The differences that we can understand, I live in Miami. I knew nothing about the mountains. Nothing. Zero. When I saw snow on the mountains, I'm freaked out. I'm literally freaked out. Because in Miami, it's 360 days a year, it's 90 degrees. But if you came down in our humidity, you would know nothing about that. But that doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make you uneducated. It makes the differences so much more interesting. That's who we are. And that's what we should be about. And so that's who I am. And I got 3 kids. I love basketball, the Miami Heat specifically, but I played basketball back in the day. And I'm a musician. And so these guys who are over here, I can certainly appreciate the value of music, because I'll end with this. Music is the international language for us all. If you are having a bad day, find you a good song. If you're having a bad day, go back to your favorite singer. If you're having a bad day, go to church, or go to the bar, or go somewhere where somebody's having that inside joy on a stage. And man, let me tell you something, you'll find your way back home. Thank you so much.
Okay, wow. I was going to ask somebody to keep track of the Mariners game, actually, but maybe we all can go there. So our theme for the convention is "The future is union-made, we are the union." Now, I think both of you just shared some comments and some perspective that helps us get a little bit of a sense of what that might mean to you. But I want to open up a conversation to start with, what should that future look like? If we're making the future, what's the task before us?
If I may be so bold. I love this question. Some of you might know that when I was campaigning to be elected to serve as president of the Washington State Labor Council with Sharika Carter as my secretary-treasurer, our campaign slogan was "Labor's future is now." And so I think the future looks like this room, right? The future is a place where the labor movement holds this space sacred, so workers can come together across race and place, across ideology and ability, across gender and sexuality, to find our common humanity and build our solidarity. I mean, the future is labor leaders really thinking about the next best thing for our movement. Maybe that's not quite the way I want it. But here's what I want to say. I think the future is where we are challenging ourselves to think beyond what we know to be possible and come up with the thing that we have not yet believed is possible. And we have a timeline at the State Labor Council, and it includes information about a strike in 1907. There were a group of mill workers in Southwest Washington on strike, and they were on strike for 109 days. Now, anyone who's ever been on strike knows that 109 days is a long time to be out on strike. And it says that those workers were striking for a 9-hour workday. And I look at that all the time, and I think, I bet when they were on strike for a 9-hour workday, they couldn't conceive the possibility of an 8-hour workday. And so I think the future of the labor movement is us coming up with that thing that we have not yet conceived but is possible. The thing that improves the lives for workers, families, and communities. The thing that allows workers to have respite and respect. The thing that recognizes that it's not just the wealthy elite that deserve the luxury to dream and relax and spend time with their families. And the future of the labor movement is all of us coming together to fight for that thing that improves the lives of all workers. members, whether they're represented by a union right now or not.
Yeah, everything you said. Right? So I'll just add two things. One is, so we've done a lot of polling at the AFT, and lots of people have done national polling on unions specifically. And unions are experiencing one of the highlights of significance in our history. There are more people who appreciate unions today than 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, or even 40 years ago. We are at one of our highest points of acknowledgement in recorded history in the country. And so I think we need to take advantage of that. But I think we take advantage of that through two means. One is we have to extend our hand to young people, right? And we also have to extend our hand to the young at heart. And so I'm a young at heart person right now, right? And so, but the young at heart have a place in this movement. The young at heart have our history. They have the embedded fights. They have been through it all. They understand, and we should capture all that we can capture there, and then we should find a young person who in this young generation, although they are very different from my generation, they love this stuff. They love social justice. They have a value system that is as expansive as we've ever seen in recorded history. They love everybody and everything. Now, the world is all crazy. Don't get me wrong. And the world is going faster than it has ever gone before. But if you start to talk to these young people, they don't care who you love. They don't care how you look. They don't care what street you come from. They don't care your social system. These young people care more about each other and the circumstances in which they live and how to grow out of that circumstance than we've ever seen before. And it is up to us to capture that, to capture those moments and to say, hey, this is where you belong in this union. Because guess what? Those are our values. We care about everybody. We want to use power. We want to have power to extend a value system that expands to every zip code, to every background, to every station, to every person, regardless of who you love or where you come from. This is the republic that we believe in. And so those are the things that I think I can add, and inclusive of the diversity. Guys, we talk about diversity all the time. Everybody matters. Everybody matters. Every single person. We are all one sickness away from being in the same situation. We're all one paycheck away from being in the same situation. Why does the color of my skin matter? My station in life. That is such an antiquated, illiterate kind of silliness that we should not be pushing as a society. But unfortunately, I'm from the South. It is very real. So even in the sense that we understand it's not right, we still have to fight against that. And we have to fight against those forces who fight against us, because our value system puts us on the right side of history.
Yep.
You said something, different things that caught my attention. One is this notion of, I can't remember how you said it, but realizing we're fighting for something we can't even imagine right now. And then I think the other piece is how you're describing young people, which is so encouraging and inspiring, and I think that's what most of us see day to day, but it's not the message that's out there, right? And so I think, I guess what I want to ask you is think about, like, in terms of optimism, or in terms of, that's not exactly the right word, but in terms of, can we do this? Are we up to this task? How do you see the current labor movement as being, are we able to, can we do this?
So yeah, of course we can. Yeah, the easy answer is yes. Why? Because I'm a teacher. I'm the ultimate optimist, right? So we believe in what is not possible sometimes. Every August, I would say, bring any kid to me. And Mr. Principal, get out of my way and let me work the magic, right? Don't we all say that as educators? If I had the right resources, the right time, and the right circumstances, I could teach anybody anything, especially about music, because I love it. It's who I am. So can we do this? We have to do this. We have to do this because of three people specifically. specifically, Jordan, Elon, and Aaron. Those are my 3 kids. We've got to leave this world a little bit better than we found it. That's really all we can do. I want this world. My parents did not have a college degree. They have a son who has 3. I have a daughter who's in medical school right now. My grandmother was illiterate, had a 3rd grade education, could not read the very Bible she believed in. She could not read the very Bible that she told us was the most important book that we would ever read. Yes, we can do this, because this is our leg of the race. This is a relay race, and we've got the baton. What will you do? What will history books say about you? You know that little dash they put between life and death? That's all we have. And guess what? It goes, if you got kids or you around kids, it goes like this. It's a heartbeat. I mean, it is like, how did I get so old? Jesus Christ. You know, and I say that in all honesty because, like, I used to be a rapper back in the day, right? I used to rap, like I was a rapping basketball player. I was a stuttering rapping basketball player. So I have to ask, because I stuttered back in the day, right? Kids were cruel, so I can tell you some of the things that happened. But that's what I wanted to do as a kid. I had an English teacher who told me, you have a way with words, son. If you learn things and put that into poetic prose and you start to memorize things and you start to say, out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole, I pray whatever gods may be for your unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Out of the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody or mine. Or go into speech and debate and learn some extemporaneous kinds of way to articulate yourself. Then you, son, can be somebody and do something beyond holding a microphone on a stage behind some loud music. You, my son, can change the world. An English teacher told me that in the 9th grade. And I wasn't the smartest kid, and I certainly did not want to go to college because I didn't see it in my house. But by the grace of God, by good teachers, by good circumstances, those things happen to me. That's what we do. So yes, we can do this. Yes, the labor movement can be better. Look who is your AFTWA president. This young lady right here. That is absolutely amazing. This would not have happened 50 years ago. It would not have happened 60 years ago, 70 years ago. And yes, the labor movement has always been about values, but we have refined our own values in the labor movement to be fully inclusive of everybody and do certain things that will help every single person in America. And that's what we do. Yes, we can do it, and we will do it because we must. We must. There is no choice for us.
Yes, I would add that not only can we do it and will we do it, but that we were born just for times like these. That the labor movement was not born in a time when work was easy, when there was abundance and wealth for every worker. The labor movement was born in times when work was precarious and times were uncertain and people were suffering. And it was the solidarity of workers coming together that built this movement. And it is our workers' solidarity that will continue to build this movement and will allow us to gain victories in the future. And like for young people, I mean, I think every time I hear someone tell me young people are so entitled, you know, they want everything and they want it right now, I think, yes, what are we sacrificing for? If not for the next generation to feel like they're entitled to something better than what we have, and that they deserve it faster and better than what we had. I'm not making these sacrifices for Javante, Jasmine, and Naya for them to not feel like they're entitled to more. Those are my kids. I had to get a job. So y'all know my kids, let them know I dropped it too. So just throw that out there. But yes, not only can we, not only will we, but this is the moment we were born for.
Wow. Are there obstacles you're most worried about? What do you think are the challenges? Like, we're all active, you know, we're all involved in the union, we're all taking leadership, we're all looking for ways to get there. What are the obstacles that you think are pretty big? And you
have to listen to folks. And sometimes listening to that, you have to be silent, right? Listen and silent use the same letters. So you have to be still sometimes, right? In my church, they would say, you know, be still and stand up for something. So it's hard, but it is rewarding, and it is one of the most rewarding things. You'll look back on your life and your dash will mean something. It really will, because the history books will write about you in your own way. And I want my kids and my grandkids and my cousins and nephews to know, man, that dude fought for some people. He stood up to Ron DeSantis. I said his name on camera. They're not going to ban me from Florida. I'm coming back and I'm fight you again, brother. So, but what I'm saying to you is it matters. It matters. It all matters. Every conversation, every problem, every person that comes to you, every time you get so tired that you think you can't carry it, think about other people who carry it a little bit more than you did. Because there are others. And what this reminds me of is that there's strength in numbers. Sometimes you come to these union meetings just to commiserate. just to know that you're not by yourself. Just to know that you're not the only one that got left by yourself today. You know? And that's what we can do for ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I would say to that also, thank you. Right? Thank you for being voluntold. That's what I heard. That's not what you're saying. For being voluntold into leadership, because that's how most of us get here. And I would add that yes, the work is hard, and you're not doing it alone. And maybe the most important thing that any of us can do, especially as it relates to leadership development, is to build a cohort. There is someone in this room who would love to nerd out on a spreadsheet, right? Find that person. Who wants to geek out on these numbers? Who wants to dig into the contract work? There's so much work that needs to be done that there is, find the thing that gives you passion, that fulfills you, that at the end of the day you feel like, yes, that was hard, but this was the best work I've done, and create space to focus on that. And the things that you don't love, there is someone in this room that would love to do that. I'm not a spreadsheet person, despite the fact that I served as a secretary-treasurer for 4 years. But math in public, not my strong suit. So I got a team around me. I got people that love to geek out on some spreadsheets so that I don't have to do that work that's not my hard work. So find your hard work, build up a cohort of folks around you, and help them identify their hard work. So then you do have folks that you can lean on those tough days, and know that you don't have to do it alone. None of us have to do this alone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
April, I was so excited to hear you mention reproductive justice as something that is the business of the union. Can you tell us more about how we in Washington State can bolster reproductive justice and make sure that we are a strong reproductive state?
Absolutely. I mean, I will say it again and again and again, that access to safe and affordable abortions and reproductive health care is a labor issue. I have 3 beautiful children, and in order to have those children, I went through a process that doctors described as labor. So no one can tell me that this is not a labor issue. And for me, hard labor, long labor, love them. I think that there's work for us to be done as we're waiting on this impending glacier decision, right? This decision that's before the Supreme Court, which is really designed to control workers' ability to determine when and whether we labor. Our ability to withhold our labor is fundamental to who we are as a labor movement. That fundamental belief has to extend to people who could get pregnant and their ability to control and withhold their labor too. So in Washington State, we are supporting legislation, working with reproductive justice advocates to make sure that we are passing the best policies to provide the most protection. I'm not the subject matter expert on it. We've got other policy folks that are really sitting in this space, want to be careful that we're not co-opting the work, but that we are using our institutionally recognized power to support the work of reproductive justice advocates. And I think what we can do here in Washington State is continue to push the rest of the labor movement and not be silent about the clarity we have around our goal to fight for reproductive freedom.
Can I just add to that really quick? Because reproductive freedom is a man's issue too. And we've got to stand side by side with women. Because there are a lot of men up in the halls of Congress that are dictating these laws. And we need some men to tell them that they're doing the wrong things. And that, I think, is going to be fundamental to the change that we need as well. We have to stand beside women who have taken the lead, rightfully so. But we need some men to understand that this is not just a female issue. They're trying to control our sisters and our daughters and our granddaughters and our aunts. And that's not right. That is not right. Because if the roles were changed and somebody told us, men, that we couldn't do certain things with our bodies, guess what? They changed that law. And so I feel very strongly and passionately about it because I have 2 daughters. And I want it to be their choice. Because if their life is on the line, it's their choice. Not some people in the halls of Congress who believe that they think for whatever reason, be it for faith-based reasons, be it for social reasons, be it for public policy reasons, that they are right in this situation. They are not right. And what we're doing, and I see it firsthand in the South, firsthand in Florida, where we passed the most aggressive anti-reproductive bill in the country, 6-week ban. And so that is a question that is rightfully asked, but what can you do? Be informed, know all of the information about what you're talking about so that you can articulate it to someone with a value system. With a value system that says it is more than just making a decision. This is a life decision. And it's not easy for women to do that. But men have to stand in that gap along with our women as well. Thank you so much for asking the question.
I think we're ready to wrap up, and I want to give each one of you a chance to say any last words that you want to share on the theme, generally, anything that you didn't get to say.
Sure. Well, first, Karen, thank you. Thank you for hosting this conversation. I've had the privilege of keynoting at other events, and there's something so refreshing about a conversation like this and the ability and the opportunity to be in community with all of you. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of this and to join your convention. I think what I would say is, and Frederick, you talked about this earlier when you talked about love, what's been heavy on my mind the last several months is how isolated I think folks are feeling, how scared and uncertain times are, how scarce resources feel for people, and the way that our communities have been reacting as a result of those feelings of scarcity and anxiety and isolation. And so your decision to bring folks together in person, despite how tricky it still is in this post-pandemic, endemic environment, I think is important because it allows us to be in community, to break bread with each other, to share space with each other. And that is what leads to the love that we have to have for each other if we really want to win. If we really want to build power for workers, families, and communities, our work has to be rooted in love, and it has to be rooted in community. And so I think that's what I'm walking away with from tonight's conversation. I'm just really grateful to have the opportunity to be in real community with you all and to have this conversation. So thank you.
So there have been 2 highlights since I came to Seattle. One, I went to the Space Needle yesterday for the first time. Yay for me, right? And I ran into your governor, Jay Inslee.
Just hanging out at the top of the Space Needle as he does?
Yeah, he was just hanging out at the Space Needle. I really had something going on. And so that was a highlight for me, but the highlight really has been this convention. I want to thank Karen for inviting me. Karen is on our executive council, and she is a leader among leaders. She's really doing a fantastic job for you, and let's give her a big round. What I will say to all of you, this is kind of like the end of the school year, right? Everybody's kind of either approaching or finished or just about to finish. Find something you like to do, right? Leave it alone for a minute. leave it alone, drop it for a second. You know, go down to Florida, just visit, don't live. Go to Disney World. We are loving Disney World right now. You want to go to some spiders, Mickey Mouse is kicking ass down here. I shouldn't have said, I'm so sorry. All right, everybody should go on Twitter. Sorry. I get in my Florida mode really quick. I'm so sorry. We fight like heck down there in Florida. We just happen to have Donald and Ron in the same state. It's tough for us right now. But listen, guys, find you something that you like to do. Find you somebody who you like to spend time with. Stop watching so much TV, be it Fox or MSNBC or CNN, just cut it off. Cut it off. I know some addicted people are in here. I know it. I can see it in your eyes. You're just like me. You know, but cut it off every now and again and just say, you know what, I'm going to forget that for a second. And find you a happy place. Some people find it in church, some people find it in family, some people find it in a hobby, some people find it in music, whatever it is. But you gotta forget about it. Or mental health is real. It is real. And the world is turning faster than it has ever turned before. April mentioned these kids want it right now. We grew up in Encyclopedia Britannica days. Am I by myself?
No.
Like my parents thought that was the crown jewel of books, right? Go look it up and research. These kids think that we are the craziest people ever to have a 5-pound book, 100 of them, and look through all the words. That's not their world. Don't spend so much time in our past trying to create their future. Because the jobs that you are creating, your colleges and universities, they don't even know exist yet. So, find you some space, find you some happiness, dig deep, make sure that this is what you want to do, and if you've been doing it for a while, find you a new energy that's going to bring it back one more time, because that's what we do. We're glutton for punishment, that's what teachers are. We are glutton for punishment, because we love what we do. We love it. Listen, I always tell people, teaching was never meant to put you in the penthouse, but it should put you in the poorhouse. So somewhere in between is where we usually land. But what I'm telling you is there is a joy that you have to have internally that brings you back to this work. And so that's really my message to you all. You all are, if you're at this convention, you're the choir. You are the choir. You are what I used to call my students the crazy ones. The crazy ones come to the convention. But I say that in all jest because only crazy people believe that they can change the world. And that's who you are. You change the world every day. You're the best that we got. You're all that we got. Unfortunately, sometimes you're it because justice sometimes is just us. And so you all know it better than anybody else, but it's our job to convince other people to do this thing over and over and over again and find your replacement. Find somebody who's going to fight with you. Find somebody who's going to help you. I think that's the most important thing that I learned out of all of it. You cannot do this by yourself. You cannot do it. If you weigh everything that your works out of school and you weigh all the problems in the world, you're going to burn yourself out. Don't do it. We need you in the fight. You've got to stay in the fight because you know this better than anybody else. So be there for yourself, be there for your family, be there for your members. AFT Washington, I am encouraged by being here, by hearing April, by knowing that Karen has done this thing right, by knowing that we've got some really good folks, and by seeing a halfway decent governor in my lifetime. Oh, close. Thank y'all.